Imagine that the world's largest Bitcoin miner finds the next block. The proof of work is real. The block arrives through the network, but hidden inside it is an impossible transaction. Perhaps it contains a reward larger than Bitcoin's rules allow, or a coin being spent without a valid signature. Your computer does not call a company. It does not check a social media poll. It does not ask how expensive the miner's machines were. It checks the rules, and then it rejects the block. That small act reveals something most explanations of Bitcoin miss. Miners build candidate blocks, but proof of work is not a permission slip. Developers write software, but publishing code does not make everyone accept it. And thousands of computers can be online without casting a single vote. So what does a Bitcoin node actually do? How much power does it have? And why can a quiet computer in someone's home matter to a network secured by industrial machines? A fully validating Bitcoin node is a program that receives blocks and transactions, checks them against its rules, and maintains its own verified view of the ledger. It verifies signatures. It checks that coins have not already been spent. It checks the block reward, the proof of work, transaction structure, script conditions, and many other consensus rules. Only after a block passes those tests can it become part of that node's accepted chain. Some nodes keep every historical block. Those are archival nodes. Others validate the same history and then discard older block files to save storage. Those are pruned nodes. Pruning reduces what the machine can serve to other peers, but it does not turn off full validation. And a node is not one special piece of hardware. It may be a small computer at home, a server behind a merchant's payment system, part of an exchange's deposit infrastructure, or the software a mining pool uses to construct and validate blocks. The box is not the important part. The important part is who is checking and what real decisions depend on the result. People often say Bitcoin follows the longest chain. That shortcut is dangerous. A fully validating node follows the valid chain with the most cumulative proof of work. Valid comes first. Proof of work lets nodes compare competing histories that already satisfy their rules. It makes rewriting accepted history enormously expensive. But if a candidate block creates forbidden coins or breaks a signature rule, more hashing does not repair it for a node that enforces that rule. This is the boundary between miners and nodes. Miners choose transactions, build candidate blocks, and spend energy searching for valid proof of work. Nodes receive those blocks and decide whether they satisfy the rules the node is running. A miner can offer a block. It cannot force a rejecting node to call that block Bitcoin. But the reverse is also true. Your node cannot create proof of work. It cannot force a miner to include your transaction, and it cannot make another node run the same rules. Nodes do not dominate miners. Miners do not dominate nodes. Each performs a different job, and Bitcoin works when those jobs remain compatible. Suppose your wallet says you received Bitcoin. How does it know? One wallet may ask a company's server. Another may download block headers and request a compact proof that the transaction appears in a block. A fully validating wallet can ask its own node. These choices create different trust models. A server-based wallet is convenient, but the server can omit information, observe the addresses you ask about, or show you its own interpretation of the chain. A lightweight client can verify that a transaction is included under accumulated proof of work, but it does not independently validate every transaction inside every block. A full node downloads and checks the data itself. According to Bitcoin's developer documentation, it needs only one honest network peer to receive a valid candidate chain and independently test it. That does not eliminate every risk. Software bugs, compromised hardware, and network isolation attacks still matter. But it changes the basic question from which server do I trust to which rules am I independently running. This is the first and clearest power of a node. Not control over strangers, but control over your own acceptance. If nodes enforce rules, should Bitcoin simply count them? No, Bitcoin has no one node, one vote election. Creating network identities is cheap. One person can launch many nodes. Many nodes cannot accept incoming connections, and no public scanner can see every machine behind Tor, a firewall, or a private network. Even if we knew the exact total, the machines would not be economically equal. A laptop that validates quietly and never receives a payment is useful to its owner. It may also relay data and strengthen network connectivity, but it does not automatically carry the same coordination weight as a node that decides when an exchange credits deposits, when a merchant releases goods, or which transactions a mining pool puts into a block. This is why a chart of reachable nodes is not a parliament. More independent validators can improve resilience, privacy, and access to peer-to-peer infrastructure. But counting IP addresses does not tell us who controls Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's rules do not ask for an IP address majority. The difference appears when a node's decision triggers economic action. A merchant's node sees a valid payment, and the merchant ships a product. An exchange's node sees confirmations and credits an account. A wallet provider uses a node to decide what thousands of users see. A miner uses a node to build a valid block template and avoid wasting proof of work. These are sometimes described as economic nodes. It is not a formal protocol category, but it is a useful way to understand coordination. Every full node can refuse a rule-breaking chain for its own operator. But when money, goods, custody, or mining depend on that refusal, other participants must care. The node has not gained a vote. The economic activity attached to it has created leverage. This also explains why the phrase "users decide the rules" needs a qualifier. Users can choose what they accept. They cannot guarantee that miners will build on it, that exchanges will assign it value, or that other users will choose the same thing. A rule survives as Bitcoin only when enough of the system remains compatible around it. The SegWit activation conflict in 2017 is often retold as a simple victory. Either miners controlled Bitcoin or users and nodes defeated them. The primary documents tell a more complicated story. The original BIP9 process measured miner signaling for a backward-compatible upgrade. When activation stalled, BIP148 described a user-activated policy. During a defined window, participating nodes would reject blocks that did not signal for SegWit. That was not a survey. BIP148 nodes were committing to specific behavior. If economically important participants enforced it while miners produced incompatible blocks, the network could split. At the same time, BIP91 offered miners a lower threshold method to coordinate signaling for the existing SegWit deployment. Businesses, developers, miners, wallets, exchanges, and node operators were all responding to the risk of incompatible outcomes. The lesson is not that one group secretly ruled the others. It is that credible enforcement changed incentives. Nodes could reject. Miners could direct proof of work. Businesses could decide which deposits and payments to recognize. Developers could publish software. None could guarantee the final result alone. Bitcoin's stability came from coordination, before those powers pulled the network apart. What about the people who write the code? Developers have real influence. They research problems, propose designs, review implementations, fix vulnerabilities, and publish software that many people use by default. A poor default can spread widely. A trusted release can coordinate thousands of upgrades. But a code change in a repository is not yet a change to Bitcoin's rules. The Bitcoin Improvement Proposal repository explicitly says publication does not mean a proposal is accepted or about to be adopted. Bitcoin Core describes its maintainers as merging work that contributors agree should be merged, and its contribution process requires extensive discussion for consensus changes. After all of that, node operators, businesses, miners, and wallet systems still decide whether to install and use the software. Developers shape the menu. They do not force everyone to order the same meal. Running a node is powerful, but it is not magic. It does not protect a seed phrase from theft. It does not stop malware from asking you to sign the wrong transaction. It does not make every payment private. It cannot reverse a confirmed transfer. It cannot guarantee that miners include a low-fee transaction. It cannot produce proof of work. And it cannot make the rest of the economy call your preferred fork Bitcoin. It is also important to separate consensus from policy. Nodes can use different local rules for which unconfirmed transactions they store or relay. A transaction rejected from one mempool may still be valid under consensus and later appear in a valid block. Not every disagreement between nodes is a constitutional crisis. There are practical costs as well. As of August 2026, Bitcoin Core's download page estimates an initial download of about 600 gigabytes, followed by roughly 5 to 10 gigabytes per month. With pruning, stored data can be reduced to around 10 gigabytes without giving up full validation security. That trade-off matters. If independent verification becomes too expensive, more users outsource it. If it remains accessible, more economic activity can check the ledger directly. Return to the impossible block from the beginning. The miner has real machines, real energy, and real proof of work. Your node still says no. Not because it is stronger than the miner, but because it is not asking the miner what the rules are. That is why Bitcoin nodes matter more than most people think. Their first power is defensive sovereignty, the ability to verify and refuse for the person or system relying on them. Their wider power appears when many economically meaningful participants independently enforce compatible rules. Then a private decision becomes part of a public constraint. But nodes are not votes. They do not govern by raw number, and they cannot keep Bitcoin together without miners, developers, wallets, businesses, and users coordinating around a common history. Bitcoin has no referee above the network. It has participants who refuse to stop checking. BTCWindow.uk, built for generational wealth.